Hello and welcome to quite an unusual LARP vlog here in the OT-Blase. If you are a regular viewer, you will probably ask yourself right now, warum spricht Dominik gerade Englisch? Was ist hier los? Ich verstehe die verdammte Welt nicht mehr. For those who don't know, we are a German-based LARP podcast / YouTube channel, so we do everything usually in German. The reason why I'm subjecting you to my thick, lovely German accent is because I'm currently studying integrated design, and a colleague of mine started a podcast as a project where she interviews fellow students with unusual hobbies. And of course, she interviewed me about live action roleplay. And because she's from the States, we did this entire interview in English, which is also the reason why I do this intro in English, because I recorded parts of this interview for this video. I really enjoyed this interview because it's always a challenge to explain LARP to somebody who has no prior experience with live action roleplay, and it's even more of a challenge if you do this in a unfamiliar language. Anyway, I did my best and I apologize beforehand for every grammatical screw up, mispronunciation and overall quality of my answers. And I hope you will enjoy this. If you are from outside of Germany, just leave a comment and tell us the differences in your definition of LARP and how things are done in your country. We are always interested in hearing other perspectives on this wonderful hobby. And without further ado, here is my attempt of explaining LARP to a non-LARPer in English. Enjoy.
I think the best thing I can do in the beginning is to explain what LARP actually is, because most of the people don't know. LARP is short for live action roleplay, which means LARP is a game where you create your own character and portray that character. Unlike role-playing games for instance, on the PC or in pen and paper form, you actually portray this character a little bit like an actor would portray a character with your entire body. Like you dress like the character, you talk like the character, you think like the character, you decide like the character. And that way you are, for a short period of time, this character, so to speak. You play LARP on specific LARP events called Con in Germany and run internationally. And those cons or events have an overarching story usually, or a scenario that explains why you are here, why the character that you are playing is there, and what and the things that happened during the play. And you can really influence the story, the plot, and everything else that happens on those events with your own decisions. So LARP is a lot about creating your own narrative during the play.
So what's the most interesting character you have played before?
The most interesting character? Usually the most interesting characters for me are characters that are a challenge for me. Because usually, especially beginners, they want to play like a power fantasy, like a dominant, always ready hero that knows everything, that can react to everything, that is always above everyone. And I think it's more interesting and more challenging for me to play something that is more submissive, that is more that doesn't want to play the hero, that wants to play to struggle. This is actually a term out of play theory for LARP. Play to struggle, to experience hardship, for instance.
Yeah. I would think about just play a princess.
Yeah, I mean, a princess can't be different things. You can be like a tragic princess that lost like her kingdom or her name, or her house got wiped out, or she got poor and had to marry someone she didn't want to marry just to don't leave her social status. There's a lot of play, a lot of opportunities to create a really interesting character, even if it's just a princess on the surface.
Okay, like a Mulan.
Yeah, for instance, this is the thing that draws me really to LARP. Is you have so much room to express yourself. If you are somebody who really likes to act, who really wants to think about the things he's about to experience, if you want to break your mold of your own behavior, then LARP is a really cool way to do this, because you have all the freedom you want, at least most of the time.
You haven't answered my question yet.
The most interesting character.
Right.
Okay. The most interesting character, I think, I had a farmer once, a peasant, a really low-born, really not that bright, coward, and really simple thinking guy. And this was really funny because everyone I encountered, no matter if it's just a normal fighter or some, I don't know, just some regular dude that you encounter, they all were like highborn from me because I was one of the lowest of the lowest. Like a farmer who has a few square miles of land for himself, and this not even it's not even his land because he is just a part owner and stuff like this. It's really cool to like act really submissive towards other characters, and people get a little bit confused by this because this is not something that people usually do in LARP.
How about the craziest one?
The craziest one. The craziest one. For this I have to explain something. There are a lot of different genres in LARP. Different worlds and universes. And in Germany, the most popular one is fantasy. It's like Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones and stuff like this. And the second most popular one is post-apocalyptic, where the world has experienced an apocalyptic event like atom bombs that went off or gas attacks. There's different theories. Yeah, the world went mad. It's a little bit Mad Max style or Fallout games, if people know this. And in this world, I have a character that is a drug dealer that sells self-created drugs, and he's always on edge, always just a few wrong words away from losing it, and he's in your face the entire time, and he's pretty dangerous and grumpy and vulgar and stuff like this. And this is really something that I like to play for short durations of times because it's funny to see the reactions of other people to this character, because they really don't know how to deal with me if somebody really offensively is in their face and looks like he's about to, like, I don't know, stab you to death or something like this. And then the drug part is always funny if you're like really overselling, taking like, I don't know, something like Coke but times 10, something like this, and you really go nuts when you do it. It's really... You're
not taking real drug, aren't you? They're just play.
No, yeah, just play. We use those in Germany. It's called Wiesenkoks. It's like a powder that is like mint. I'm gonna stop myself right there just to explain. Wiesenkoks is nothing more than dextrose powder mixed with mint. So it's totally safe to consume, not a drug substitute, nothing illegal. It's just, yeah, mint powder for your nostrils. Just in case I didn't explain this well enough. And back to the video. It's really funny to play it because you have this little burning sensation in your nose and your nostrils getting free, and you can like really oversell like this cocaine sniffing.
Oh my gosh. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's a little bit that's another funny thing with LARP. It's always an act. It's a little bit like an show you put on.
So how do you manage your costume then?
Costumes are a huge thing in LARP. Like the scene is really strong when it comes to building your own stuff. Like, you can buy a lot of things, especially in fantasy LARP. There is a huge industry of really talented manufacturers to make really cool costumes.
But yeah, I mean, you can buy a lot of like carnival costume here in Cologne. There's so many.
No, they are way above carnival costumes. They can be compared to like theater costumes from a quality standpoint. But a huge part of LARP is build your own, or at least put together your own clothing.
It's like cosplay.
A little bit, even a little bit above, because in cosplay you just have to look like a character that already exists, and it has to look a little bit convincing. But in LARP, they don't only have to look good, they also have to be comfortable to wear. They can't fall apart if you fight or run or fall. They have to be practical. They have to fit the different worlds and universes. it's a really big challenge to get the clothing that you want and look apart. And building your own clothing, like sewing or building small props and things like this, is really huge in the scene. There are people that are so talented that they build costumes like for movies. And you actually use techniques that they use in movies to, like for instance, weather down clothing or age clothing. Because one of the most important things with your costumes is they have to look like as if you're wearing them every day. So they can't be really clean, like they're coming out of the washing machine. They can't really look like synthetic. Like for instance, in Fantasy LARP, you always use like cotton or other natural fabrics.
So you made all the costume yourself?
Not entirely, no. Sometimes I just put together the clothing I already have or modify them. For instance, for my fantasy character that I'm playing currently, I ordered my clothing, but I alter it so it fits me personally, my body, and looks like I have worn it for years. When it comes to post-apocalyptical, this is actually a whole different world, because all the clothing that you use in post-apocalyptical is like pre-owned. Like it's normal everyday clothing that you weather down in a way like they would look like after an apocalypse. And you found different stuff laying around, you patch it together, you paint it over, you found new stuff that is old in some ruin or something, and this to create this details, to create this authentic look, this is something that is really something that I really like in LARP, because I am a little bit of a prop designer and a costume designer, and I really love to like tell a story with my clothing.
Cool. So you can demonstrate your design skills.
Yeah. Yeah, this is something that also has become more of a really cool factor with LARP, because when I started LARP, I didn't do much design, because I started in 2005 with I think
you
19.
Didn't get into kids either.
Yeah, and I hadn't do anything even closely related to design. But the more I started to do design, the more I started to include it into LARP for me, for instance. Things like graphic design, you can do a lot of world building with small graphic design stuff you do. For instance, if you create a brand of something, we, for instance, in Post-Apocalyptical created a brand of a liqueur, where we used old advertisement style of labeling from like the 60s and created an own brand, a little narration about around this brand, even some posters and some and a slogan, and a little bit of a corporate identity, and we integrated this in our game. We sold this product on events, and after a while it took off because it was a good brand, it was a good liqueur, people liked it, and now it's like canon in the world. And people are using like the posters or the little bottles when they keep them, and yeah, it's really funny to see like doing design in this microcosmos of made up things.
Yeah, those are the parts that I recorded, and I hope you like those little snippets. If you do, then think about maybe subscribing. We do a lot of LARP vlogs on location and do little montages from the play area, but also during the play. And we are planning to release those montages outside the vlogs so that people who don't speak German can also enjoy this content. And who knows, maybe we will start a little bit of English content as well. This will depend on how well this video will do. I know we are a really small YouTube channel, but we still look at those precious statistics. So yeah, if you want to see more of this, leave a comment, leave a like, leave a sub. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and maybe we will see each other soon, and yeah, have a good one. Bye! Hey, before we end this video, a huge shout out to the lovely people that produces all those fantastic pictures that you saw throughout this video. This is for one Moritz Jentral, Celtic View, Van Rotten and the girls and boys from 35mm. If you want to see more of their work, you will find all the contacts in the description below. Yeah, and thanks for watching, see you soon, bye!